kind of lust has come off in terms of you're coming off a series against a top 10 team in Oregon. You return back to face a non-conference team in a midweek tilt. What has to be the mindset for this UCLA team as they're taking on Long Beach State, as Jada Cecil's second pitch is in there for a strike?
I think the mindset's going to be just laser focused from the team, and I think that's going to start with Jada Cecil in the circle. Like you said, her last start was quite impressive, in my opinion. She was really dialed in, was pitching with really great poise and just a lot of rhythm. So I want her to enter this game with the same confidence that she entered her last start, and just be able to pour into a team that is coming from a loss and just kind of inject that same energy that she has into the team.
Jacqueline Bicar, the senior, pops it up and it hits the screen. The big message from Coach Kelly Noy Perez to the infield is just to have Jada Cecil's back, especially considering Cecil hasn't started many games for UCLA, just her fifth. Late swing on the 2-2 stays alive. But they have so much trust in every single one of those arms in their pitching staff. This is just another opportunity for Cecil to show what she can do. It's in the dirt inside. Full count to Jacqueline Bicar out of Cypress, California. Has started every single game the past 2 seasons. And misses underneath, and a leadoff walk for Bicar and the Beach. They got off to a great start defensively, did UCLA, against Oregon in game 1. Taylor Tinsley was the starting pitcher. They didn't concede any runs through the first 3 innings in that hotly contested series, as Daniel was ready for the throw attempt to second. That's been a big point of emphasis after conceding a lot of swipes to the fast and speedy Oregon Ducks. Infield pinches in with Woolery and Grant at the corners, and she takes strike 2. Carly Robbins, starting third baseman, swings around it, and Cecil collects her first strikeout. Did a good job to pitch away as Michaela Medellin, stepping in. The righty hitter fouls it back against the netting for 0-1. And when you were serving as the catcher for a pitcher that was sparingly used, what was your approach to calling pitches for that specific type of pitcher?
Definitely to call to their strengths. You want them to start off the game and get comfortable early, especially if they don't have a lot of starts. You have to build their momentum back up, and that works throughout a game, and just showing that there's confidence in her good pitches. So starting off more with their strengths. Something that Jada Cecil has been able to develop is becoming stronger against left-handed hitters. She's normally very strong against right-handed hitters.
She's going to go, and Daniel puts it on the money, connects with Bragg to knock out Bicar for out number 2.
That was just a beautiful throw right there. Beautiful throw by Maggie Daniel. Super quick transfer, got it right on the money like you said.
Two balls, 1 strike to Medellin, drifts outside. 3 balls, 1 strike.
That right there also helps build confidence as a pitcher too, having your catcher have your back after you concede a walk. But again, back to our conversation, it's just to completely make them feel confident and comfortable in the circle, and Jada Cecil has been able to try to expand that, not just to right-handed hitters, but also to left-handed hitters with the arsenal that she has.
And the payoff gets the inside corner. Cecil strikes out the final two batters. They gun down Bicar on the Daniel Bragg transfer, and the defense showing why they are so stout. First look at the Bruins bats when we come back. Side corner. Well, there aren't many holes in this UCLA lineup, especially at the top of the order. Jessica Clements has led off every single game but one, as the leadoff hitter Savannah Pola and Jordan Woolery. What a duo those two are, batting over 400. Megan Grant has come down to earth a little bit, but still batting .398 in the cleanup spot. Bragg and Slimp rounding out 5 and 6, and Alexis Ramirez in the 7 hole. That 1 through 7 has been the same. Only change, Maggie Daniel getting the starting nod behind the dish in the 8 hole, and Caitlin Terry rounding out the starting lineup. As we take a look at the starting picture, Erica Gonzalez, the senior out of Oxnard, California, making her 7th start of the season. 2nd consecutive start for the Beach in the Circle. Got the ball in Game 3 against UC Riverside. As we take a look at her stats on the season, 4 innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, couple of free passes, and 4 strikeouts in an efficient 68 pitches for the senior. Still working her way back after suffering an injury. Her first appearance wasn't until March 8th. So they had to be cautious with their rehab and with her reintegration into the bullpen. And again, it never gets easy trying to take on this UCLA team. And the lefty hitter takes a ball below the zone, 2-2.
Not only hard to face a lineup like the Bruins lineup, but also coming back from injury is always tough, because you lose the timing of the game. You lose the rhythm of the game and the speed of it, but you also lose what your body used to feel like, and just that cognition in your brain, knowing what you feel like when you're doing well.
Clements lines out to Jacqueline Bicar. Savannah Pola steps in, and the coaches really credit Savannah Pola as being the big catalyst behind a lot of these explosive at-bats, because the only way that you can generate these grand slams and these multi-home run at-bats is if someone gets on base first, and she often has been the first player for this UCLA team to get on base, leading them in hits this season, just having a career senior year. Fastball just whizzes above the outer corner for ball 2.
Savannah has really been lighting the way for the Bruin lineup in that way, like you said, with her hits, but also just a calm presence at the plate. I think that also exudes a lot of confidence into the lineup as well.
Just able to flex it over the head of Gonzalez on the changeup. And the Bruins have their first player aboard. Again, it's only fitting that she would deliver the first knock. That's hit number 70 on the season for Pola. As Jordan Woolery steps up, 2nd highest batting average on the team. Again, amidst all the hoopla surrounding Megan Grant, it almost felt like she had become underrated in a weird way, despite being at the top of the scouting report for nearly the first half of the season. Against Oregon, she was arguably their most consistent hitter, was the only Bruin to deliver a hit in every single game of the series. Look at the numbers between those two: 40 combined home runs and 136 RBIs. That mental math is sharp on a Tuesday, Charlize. Going with the two-strike technique. Right up the middle, it bobbles off the glove of Gonzalez, and she was just late to react to it as Pola advances to second. And back-to-back batters aboard for UCLA. Goes down as the second hit of the ball game. As they take advantage, Gonzalez was not anticipating it to return so quickly to her. Good base running by Woolery, as it prompts the first visit into the circle from Kim Souter. 19th season leading this Long Beach State program, a former alum. And it looked promising to start. They retired Clements, but back-to-back base hits. And a little bit of a dangerous situation right now for Long Beach State in the first.
And this is a really good opportunity for Megan Grant to be able to see some pitches, really refocus her zone. And although she didn't have the outcome in Oregon that she probably wanted, this is a really good opportunity for her to just reset her eyes, reset her swing going into the Michigan weekend to get her back on path that she was at before they left to Oregon.
First at bat for Megan Grant. And in a weird way, Oregon almost paid her the biggest compliment because they refused to pitch to her. They intentionally walked her several times as she takes a changeup for strike one. But it's a challenge trying to balance approaching every at-bat with the expectation that they're going to pitch to you, as she smokes a laser right over the head of Gonzalez into right center. That waves home Pola. And a better sliding technique demonstrated this time for Megan Grant, as Woolery takes third, and an RBI double for Grant and the Bruins to begin the contest.
As you were saying, Jonah, they did do a really good job of pitching around Megan Grant, and just her power alone gives her that poise of being able to get pitched around. But right here, she found a pitch that she liked. She was on time for it, and this is the perfect way to find your rhythm again and be able to recognize pitches in a good spot and strike them well. Even if they don't fall, this one was able to fall, but even if they're not able to fall at times, it's good to know that you're striking the ball the right way.
And I think about that sliding technique we saw against UC Riverside in the first weekend of the season. We can say it didn't exactly go that way.
We're slowly progressing.
We are slowly progressing. I think Jayla Castro is taking notes on that slide as well, as Bragg takes a strike inside.
Maybe the Bruins need to bring out the sliding mat for our practice. Really work on
Is that what
slides.
they bring normally?
Normally, there's if you're going to work on it just so you don't get hurt, you bring out a sliding mat, and it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun to use it. It's slightly like a slip inside kind of deal.
Really?
Yeah, so you're able to like slide on it and it moves with you.
They shoot you with water guns as you're sliding to the base? No. It's not good for the environment.
I mean, you could just rip it up.
You were in a drought when you were playing.
Yeah, but the sliding mat is, you either get terrified when you see the sliding mat out, because then that means maybe an outfielder's diving or you're just doing a different drill, or at times it could be fun because you get to just slide around and get dirty.
1-2 to Bragg, lifts it into left, back goes Bikar, and she makes the catch in front of the wall, throws over to third, a late tag for Grant, but she's safe as the sacrifice fly scores Woolery for the second run.
I think Megan has worked on this new technique because she's flashed it out twice in this game, twice.
It has certainly looked a lot better, you can say that. So Grant scoots on 60 feet away, and Riley Slimp, highest batting average amongst the freshmen on this UCLA team, had been in the top 5 in the nation in that category for her class. That's peeling down the first base line and foul. And again, she's come down to earth a little bit, similarly to Megan Grant, but the way that she's been producing just quality at bats from day one has been what's impressed the coaching staff the most. Pulled foul, 1-2.
The Bruins hitting coaches, Coach Bubba Nichols, Coach Lisa, and Coach Will Oldham have talked about her maturity at the plate. A lot of this maturity doesn't come until your sophomore, junior year, when you see kind of what the older players are doing and also just being able to recognize what your swing does. But she's had this maturity since she entered, and she's only been able to build on that and on the philosophies that Coach Lisa and Coach Bubba and Coach Will have been able to give to them. Great shot. You see Will Oldham, Bubba Nichols, and right there in the corner is Dr. Armando Gonzalez, their mental performance specialist that comes in at times.
Rocking the backwards hat too. You wouldn't be able to tell that he's the mental performance coach based on subjective appearances. Look at that guy.
He gets pretty intense on game day, but we can attribute a lot of the success that the Bruins have had these past 2 years to him. He's not a part of the coaching staff, but feels like he's another coach that just makes you feel so whole when you walk onto the field. He's been able to tap into a lot of the strengths of the players, tap into some memories that really bring up some great thoughts and feelings and just relaxation on the field to combat some things like performance anxiety and just doubts when you step on the field. So that is something as a athlete that is really hard to combat on your own, but having someone that's there to fully support you is really helpful.
Yeah, a lot of the batters for UCLA have complimented his efforts, getting them in the right mindset. In particular, is Alexis Ramirez. We highlighted her at the top of the broadcast, up for her first at-bat. Just so great to have her healthy, gaining strength with each swing, reading pitches, the way that she used to pre-injury. And again, it said a lot how effective she was against Oregon, especially considering the struggles that the majority of the Bruins batters had in that third game. Was 3 for 7 in the series. In fact, was the only Bruin with multiple hits, had 2 hits in game 3. So she was the lone bright spot. Slimp reach base on the walk. Runners at the corners for the Bruins. And Ramirez is just going to flex it into left. That easily scores Grant. And the RBI single for Ramirez gives UCLA a 3-0 lead.
And as you said, Jonah, she was able to get those hits, but in the series against Oregon, there wasn't a lot of people on base. This time, there's a runner on base that she's able to score in, and just the hotness of her bat and just her consistency is able to pull through in a positive way here for the Bruins.
See a pinch runner, Riley Pinedo, coming in, and boy, look at that luggage. Where's she traveling to?
It's a good
Fly
sign.
Southwest, you get 2 free checked bags.
That's a good sign, though. A lot of arm guards means a lot of people visited first base. So
that's true. Maggie Daniel back in the starting lineup. First time in a couple of games. Again, she's been splitting reps with Sofia Mujica, showing off the arm in the top half of the inning. Has developed a really strong battery with Taylor Tinsley. She skies it into left. On the move is Bakar and stops a couple feet in front of the tracks. But the Bruins push 3 runs across. Couple of RBIs from Grant, Bragg, and Ramirez. We're through 1 here in Westwood. Reason why they like to play fast if they can. Brooklyn Lee has filled in admirably for Rebecca Durazo when she got injured in that CSUN series. But she's been making a compelling case to be a consistent starter. The 39th start of the season, has only come off the bench 1 time, and that was in their last effort, Game 3 against UC Riverside. Beach took 2 of the 3 games and took the series against the Highlanders this past weekend. Brings the heat, and it's smoked foul.
I want to touch back on Coach Kim Souter. She had a really great reputation at Long Beach and is now coaching, but she's also one of the longtime friends of Coach Kelly Inouye Perez, and they even coin each other as best friends, and they talk about their times together that they spent in travel ball and just all the adventures they had gone on. And it's really nice that they've been able to develop this friendship throughout all these years and be able to maintain it, and also get to visit each other so often, playing each other so many times throughout the midweeks, and also being able to see each other grow not only on the field in their own prospective programs, but as the head coaches as well.
Cecil climbs the ladder with the rise ball, got her to swing. 3rd consecutive punch out for Jada Cecil. It's a great point that you bring up, Charlize. Obviously, Inouye Perez has developed relationships with so many of her contemporaries. In fact, the last time that UCLA and Long Beach State faced off against one another here at Easton Stadium was in 2010, and that was the first national championship season as a head coach for Inouye Perez. As Carissa Sweet takes a strike. Cecil induces a pop-up. Woolery is called off the last second by Bragg. Makes the catch just in front of her dugout for out number 2.
The next batter for Long Beach State, first baseman number 3, Priscilla Ramirez.
Priscilla Iniguez batting in the 6th hole tonight. Has been one of the regular 6-hole players for this Long Beach State, batting .280 on the season. Promising freshman, one of 8 freshmen on this Long Beach State team. It skews a little bit younger, 16 underclassmen, so a lot of foundational pieces for this bunch. Iniguez doesn't chase, ball 1.
Love that word that you said, words that you said, foundational pieces, because they really are the pieces that are going to build this program back up. And you get a lot of the seniority coming from Jacqueline Bicard and Carly Robbins to be able to kind of teach them the culture that they've learned the few years that they've been here. And they're going to be soaking it up like a sponge, like you said, the 16 newcomers, and just being able to learn as much as they can to be able to also pass that down when they become seniors as well is super important.
Another pop-up, a chance for a fan to make a catch. And it avoided everyone, went right into the walkway. One-two from Cecil, and this one was flared out of the park. Is that a shattering glass sound effect? The in-stadium game ops are on it tonight. Runs inside, 2-2. And for Long Beach State, just an opportunity for them to kind of measure where they're at in the later portion of the season against a quality team as it races outside for a full count. Getting a chance to talk to people affiliated with Long Beach State. They're not as concerned about the result, just trying to develop the right habits entering Big West tournament play. That's a refreshing thing to say. First time ever the Big West Conference is going to have a conference tournament.
And it's around this time as a team that you don't make dramatic changes in your play, in the lineups. You don't really change up what you've been doing. You make small adjustments, and it's really important for both of these teams going into those tournaments to be able to make those tiny adjustments, because those are what's going to drive you in the long run. So kind of like we talked about with some of the hitters being able to...
Had a share of a no-hitter against Fresno State. If Haddad, the beginning of the season, was her league pitcher of the year all 4 years during her high school career. She has seamlessly transitioned to the college level. It's been impactful and effective right away. Taking on Caitlin Terry. The bottom of the lineup for UCLA, pours in a strike. Last relief for Nally came in game 3 against UC Riverside. Pitched 4 innings. The bunt is laid down. Terry trying to use her speed and is cut down. A quick strike from Robbins to Iniguez to record out number 1. Did you like that decision, pardon Charlize, to try to lay down that bunt for Terry?
I think we were thinking the same thing. I'm like, I've seen her turn to that bunt a lot, and I like the strategy behind it. I know she wants to keep people by surprise, especially since she swings so hard. And but I think at times she's just so powerful, she does bunt it out almost like a hit.
Robbins has been channeling the Jungle Song as she's been staying busy over at third base. Hot shot right in her direction, recording out number 2. Savannah Pola came around to score the first run for UCLA. The lefty hitter takes it outside for a ball. So Coach Souder turning to the same strategy that she deployed in game 3 against Riverside with Gonzalez and then Nally. Opportunity for UCLA with a couple of lefty hitters. That's what makes them so dangerous at the top of the lineup, is you can't just deploy pitchers for right-handers when their top 2 batters both hit lefty.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of strategy on matchup right here, because you also see some pitchers warming up in the pen. It's very active over there. So you know that Long Beach is going to be implementing pitchers depending on what they see in the lineup coming up. And I think they're going to use quite a bit of arms in this midweek to be able to see if they're able to keep the Bruins at bay.
Pola swings on the 3-0. And as you mentioned, Kate Barnett, the sophomore pitcher, is warming up for Long Beach State in the bullpen. That is what makes them unique. They utilize 6 different arms. So they've got so many to choose from. And at least 6 different pitchers have pitched at least 20 innings for this Long Beach State team. A little late swing, and Pola is able to shoot it just past the glove of Perez into left for a 2-out single. She's 2 for 2. So Kelly Inouye Perez didn't have much to say after the series-ending loss at Oregon. I chatted with her pregame, and she said, listen, we just didn't have our best game. Enough said. I said, well, what were some of the positives that you were able to take away? Because obviously game 2, there were a lot of positives to draw on. And she was really pleased with Addison Fisher's performance in game 2, obviously through a gem, complete game shutout in her homecoming return to the state of Oregon. But offensively, it wasn't the kind of weekend to highlight this UCLA team. They struggled in that department, and obviously Lindsey Grine showed just why she's one of the nation's best pitchers for Oregon.
I was going to comment on that as well. I've spent so much time with Coach Kelly Inouye Perez. I know what she's thinking, but Addison Fisher did a great job, and they always talk about a hometown hero effect of the UCLA Bruins. So when they go back kind of to their familiar era, they're able to kind of shine and they feel at home. So I think that's one of the reasons why Addison Fisher felt so comfortable in her second game start, because she was really dialed in, and you could just see her flowing. And I think something that the team can learn from that is to feed off of your pitcher. I think this team feeds a lot, but Coach I looked me in the eyes before that at bat and said, you got this, what are you doing? Go ahead, save the game. And I was like, okay, I guess.
Did that change your approach to any future at-bats, just trying to stay ready at all times?
I think it was kind of built into the team at that point. We worked a lot on one-shot moments, which means in batting practice, you only get one shot to get a hit or one shot to make damage, and we used that a lot that season. And I just kind of went to the one-shot approach, and it really made me focus more on the strike zone and a pitch that I wanted. So it didn't feel so much like pressure. I just felt like it was a little more goofy, but it had been instilled in practice throughout the weeks. So it was almost second nature to me. I didn't really have time to think about it, and my body did it. So
she's helped so many different players develop the right mindset, the right technique. That sails high to Kalina Gonzalez.
And that's what Coach Kelly Inouye Perez says is her favorite part of coaching, is being able to see these memories built for players. She loves to be able to see the storylines. There's so many storylines that people come into this program with, and you see a lot of greatness seeping from each of them, but she loves to be able to see a comeback story. We had a ton last year, but also she's talking to one right there, Lefty Ramirez has a comeback story of coming back from an ACL tear and is doing a really great job coming back this year. But that's her favorite part of coaching, is being able to watch the storylines play out. And she says that softball has a funny way of playing out, and it's very magical for her to be able to see that.
And the payoff from Cecil hits Gonzalez inside, so she's able to work a leadoff free pass. First time a batter has been hit by a pitch. That's actually something characteristic of this Long Beach State team. We obviously always discuss it when talking about Kanaya Bragg. This Long Beach State roster, in fact, ranks 17th nationally with 43 hit by pitches, as Rob Schweier was having word with Cecil and Maggie Daniel in the circle.
I also want to note that this is the first batter that I've seen be up on the chalk line against Jada Cecil. So her feet were really, really on the line, and she was almost leaning over the plate, knowing that she's so strong on her right-hand side, her pitching side. not a bad way to get on base, especially when you need to get some runners on against Jada Cecil, because you do run the risk that she will run a ball into you, just because she will go to that spot so much and try to run it in to jam you up.
First at bat for Alyssa Aguilar. First time she's batting in the 8-hole today as Grant pinches in at first. Would that change the way that you as a catcher would call pitches for your battery?
It would, and right now you see that Coach Kelly Inouye Perez is taking over the pitch calling, so I would almost signal to her that a batter's on the line, because that changes the type of sequence that you're doing, because you, as calling pitches from the dugout, it's a much different perspective than calling it from behind the plate. So I personally would kind of flash that to the pitcher and say, hey, do you see that she's kind of throwing the ball or stepping up to the plate a little closer? But it's definitely important to be able to tell the coaches that are calling pitches inside the dugout what you're seeing from behind the plate, just because the perception is off from that angle.
Infield pinches in. Cecil gets her to swing in another full count. Already 4 strikeouts for Jada Cecil. Fouls it off. Infield pinches in again at the corners. And she gets her to swing through right into the glove of Daniel. And Cecil rings up victim number 5.
Now batting for Long Beach State, shortstop number 7, Perez.
Bottom of the lineup for Selena Perez and Long Beach State. And it's a great point you make, because it really does highlight how much nuance there is in the pitch calling and how you really have to cater it per individual batter. Changing up those calls depending on their spacing in the batter's box. That's why it's so important to develop that trust within that battery mate, so you have confidence that the pitcher can find that zone or that quadrant.
And
5 pitches for Cecil.
there's a lot of different ways that you can pitch call as well. There's something that's called tunneling, where you kind of throw the pitches to the same area and make them mimic the same movement of other pitches and kind of try to deviate from each other. And then there's effective velocity that goes into it, and then also late catch by Maggie Daniel, but also being able to pitch to the pitcher's strength or to the hitter's weakness. So there's a lot of ways that you can do it. You can really play mix and match throughout a game, and it really depends on what you think is going to be the most effective for your team to come out of it unscathed.
Maggie Daniel and Megan Grant having a laugh at that pop-up. I think Grant was thinking that it was hers. Daniel said, "You do enough on offense. Let me take the controls here on defense."
Those pop-ups are so difficult too as a catcher, because you do have to turn around. The spin is coming back to you. So maybe Maggie Daniels was more focused on seeing the ball and trying to read the spin that she didn't get to call it out. So Megan Grant wanted to be there as an extra line of defense.
That is a blooper, and it is caught. Slimp with a diving catch. This is out the regular season with Oregon and Northwestern. She'd prefer to play the top-tier teams and really be in late season form to close out the regular year than to face teams at the bottom of the standings at this point in the season.
It's a great point, because you do want to be at the caliber to be able to beat those highly ranked teams at the end of season. And also it's a quick check-in of what do we need to fix before the year ends. And I think it's so important to look forward to those tournament style tournaments that are going on right now, because it's it's important to win those games because it's a one and done. So you don't have a lot of chances to be able to mess around in those tournaments. And it's fun to be able to get back your revenge on teams that may have beat up on you. So it's a great way to meet up and finally end that conference season and be able to start that postseason with a bang.
Free pass for Megan Grant to open up third. Deep roster for UCLA. A lot of these players have been featured this season. Lauren Hatch, one of them, the pinch runner coming in for Grant. That's what Megan Grant does. Draws so many walks. That's her 35th free pass via bases on balls this season. Lauren Hatch, senior out of Sugar Land, Texas. 41st appearance as Bragg takes high for ball one. Bragg, of course, prompted the mercy rule against Oregon for all intents and purposes. Obviously, the Ducks had a chance in the bottom half of the sixth, but she belted a 3-run home run in the top of the sixth inning to make it an 8-0 game and hand the Ducks their first run rule loss of the season. Seven home runs for the freshman, seamlessly transitioned to that shortstop position. That ball is down on Lee, and an easy swipe for Hatch to scoot on into scoring position. Infield calls for time, or specifically Priscilla Iniguez wanted to talk strategy over with Bryn Nally. And the freshman pours it down the heart of the plate for a strike. Back-to-back strikes for Nally. Able to work the count full. It's a good job by the freshman. Bouncing back. This is below the zone, and it's back-to-back walks issued by Nally. The Bruins' first two runners safely aboard. And for Nally, she led her high school team to a CIF Southern Section Division I state championship. In fact, played a season with her teammate Jacqueline Bicard back in 2021. Those two were high school teammates, so it was a familiar face for her. Obviously part of the recruiting process to get her to come to Long Beach State, saying, hey, I'm over here. You'd fit right in. And as you can attest, so often recruiting comes down to the connections you have with existing players on teams. Was that at all a factor when you decided to originally go to Arizona and then subsequently come to UCLA?
Yeah, I think in the recruiting process, it's so important to see who you're going to be playing with, just because those are going to become your sisters and who you're going to spend most of your time with. So it's really important to see your coaching staff and your sisters that are going to be on the field. So
Lisa Fernandez was having a word with Riley Slimp. I think there was discussion from Kelly Anoy Perez about a potential maybe pinch runner for Bragg over at third. Doesn't appear to be the case, as Kevin Castillo, the assistant coach, 9th year, former member of the USA men's fast pitch softball national team, came in for a visit with the infield, keeping track of all the pitches that Bryn Nally has been throwing in the circle. So 2 on, nobody out for the Bruins in the bottom of the 3rd inning. And Slimp softly hits it foul down the 3rd base line. UCLA coming off their first Big Ten series loss of the season at number 5, Oregon. It was a quiet flight home, according to a lot of the players. Again, they just flatly didn't show up on Sunday. That's verbatim how the coaches described that performance. As Slimp is struck out swinging for out number 1. In fact, it was the first time that the Bruins had been dominated like that in over 14 months since they hosted the Stacy Winsberg Memorial Tournament last year and got demolished at home by Texas 16-0.
Also, you have to note that their flight got delayed too, so it was a pretty late flight, so
That's
I'm
true.
sure they were tired as well, so it could have been quiet because of that too. But like you said,
And an attempt from Lee to throw over to third actually hit, I believe, the bat of Alexis Ramirez. So a double swipe. So 2 Bruins move into scoring position. A little bit of a wild pitch, a chance for Lee to smother it, but again, you can see on that transfer, Alexis Ramirez just trying to get out of the way.
surprised she didn't hit her hand on the bat either. She was super close to Alexis Ramirez. I think blocking that ball and then trying to throw out. Yeah, that's Lauren Hatch. Trying to throw out Lauren Hatch at third base all so quickly, she didn't realize how close she was to the batter.
Change up in the dirt for Nally. 2 balls, no strikes. And Ramirez has started the past 18 games now as a designated player. Already 3 times she's connected for multiple hits. An RBI single in the first. She takes a fastball inside for a strike. About 2/3 of Easton Stadium is filled. The seats down the first base line, a little bit empty. The Long Beach State fans, but down the third base line, it's completely full. As it's a 5-pitch walk for Ramirez to load up the bases for Maggie Daniel. And I would say it doesn't look like they are hanging out at the beach right now, but at a softball game with their team in a difficult spot. Ramirez will come out. And Taylor Stevens making her season debut, the senior out of Linwood, California. coming into pinch run and make her first appearance in 2025. Daniel drives it into right center, and it is caught, tracked down by Medellin. As we'll see Stevens take second. The sack fly scores Hatch from third. Bragg moves on to 60 feet. That's a 4-0 lead for the home side. A great piece of hitting for Maggie Daniel, even though that was caught. Excellent connection there. Well, we saw Caitlin Terry hit a grand slam in game 1 against Ohio State. It was her first career home run, let alone grand slam. Now she's got 2 runners on. Lefty hitter was the starter in the circle. Game 3 against the Ducks, got pulled early. Didn't quite have the command. I asked Coach Inoue Perez about that. I said, how quickly did you decide in your head that you wanted to kind of pull Caitlin Terry out and turn to Addison Fisher? And she said, well, there were a couple of times when she had called certain drop balls and the balls kind of got away upstairs. And Caitlin Terry's been so good for them, but it was a game that they felt like they needed to have. And they were turning to any single measure possible as that bounces away. A flip to home base, and Bragg is tagged out. Nally laid down the glove in time. There's an official review taking a look at that play at home plate. Mark Maciel, the home plate umpire, Smokey Eds, the first base official, and Christina Drum over at third base. Now they're jogging out back onto the field. And the call is upheld. Officially confirmed that Bragg was tagged out, but they needed to adjudicate. I'm going to give you another look at the play. Obviously, there was some discussion in that UCLA dugout. As you can see, there was a chance that the left leg of Bragg had snuck underneath a potential tag, but it looked like Nally made the play on what would go down as a 2-1 put out of Bragg at home. One of the faster reviews that we've had. As we head into the top of the 4th.
This backstop isn't super deep, so kind of hard at times to steal a bag when you're going to home on a pass ball, just because it is pretty close up to the catcher. But if you really do get a good read, you're able to make a good hop and good decision to go home. And Kanai made it pretty close. You saw her left foot almost want to sneak in under there in the review, but nonetheless, they put the tag down pretty quickly. So.
And we also saw in the last start for Jada Cecil, Caitlin Terry swam around a tag at home plate after they reviewed it. So you never know upon first glance whether the call is going to stand. Cecil's been terrific so far in the circle. He's pitched a shutout game so far as we begin the top of the 4th. And again, another look. Would have been a walk for Terry. Bragg decided to boldly try and score. All smiles, though. She's always a bright spot. Wears number 33 because her mom wore number 33 in high school, and so she always tries to pay tribute to her mom, honor her in this generous way. Just a wonderful kind of regular tribute to her. As Cecil pitches high to Carly Robbins, second at bat for the starting third baseman.
That's my favorite question to ask my teammates when I'm first trying to get to know them, is why their number? Who is it attributed to? What does it mean? So that is one of my favorite questions. I just love to see what a number is behind the athlete. So always cool stories, always heartwarming.
You wore number
stories.
20?
No.
That was the number of home runs you hit. You wore number 13.
Yes, 13. 13. Lucky number 13.
So why did you choose number 13?
My sister used it all her career, and it's actually been very lucky for our family. I started seeing 13s after my grandma had passed away, so it felt like she was kind of flashing 13s everywhere, and it just became super special for my family, but definitely was because of my sister. So
Cecil retires Robbins, strikeout number 6 for the senior to begin the fourth.
what's your lucky number, Jenna?
My lucky number is 3.
3.
Because my birthday is on the 3rd of the month.
Nice.
Clean, round number.
Yeah.
I unfortunately don't have the same backstory as you do for yours.
I like the number 3 as well. My brother was born on the 3rd.
It's a
so
part
I
of
like
your
that.
number.
Yeah, it is.
It's half of your story.
It's a
If you
pretty-
think about it, it's
a
half
pretty
of
number.
your of the meaning. A skied foul for Medellin. Medellin was just 2 for 8 against UC Riverside, but was tremendous in the previous series against Santa Barbara. Batted .500 in game 3 in particular. Had that 6 RBI game as she drives one into center. And that's caught by Liesl Osteen, who came in for defensive purposes to replace Jessica Clements out in center. So they're 2 away here in the top of the 4th. We've seen more utility out of Liesl Osteen her first couple of years, primarily just a pinch runner. She's been playing more in the field.
She plays a very difficult role of always just doing what needs to be done on defense and not getting a lot of payout on offense. But when she does get her time and she gets out on the field, she always gives it 100%. And it ultimately really does help the Bruin lineup because it keeps a lot of players fresh. So for whoever she's able to pinch run for, be on the field for, it helps them get some time off of their legs and some more time on Liesl's legs and taking that hit for her body.
Still a young player, just a sophomore out of Thousand Oaks. Had an RBI single against UC San Diego again in the last start that Cecil made in the circle. Again, did start in right field in the 2 game 3s against Washington and Oregon, so she has seen some action, especially this season, in some critical junctures of the year. As that misses below the zone for ball 1.
She's definitely shown that she keeps defense on lock, for sure. She gets really good reads. She's super fast out there as well. So always nice to see her out there. All of the outfield is pretty speedy and gets really good reads.
Two and one to Carissa Sweet. Lays off 3-1. And for Long Beach State, trying to close out the regular season on a high. They're currently 5th in the Big West standings behind Cal State Fullerton, UC Santa Barbara, Hawaii, and CSUN as she takes all the way inside for ball 4. And with that, Brooklyn Lee moves on into scoring position. This is the first time that the Beach have had a player in scoring position all night. So back-to-back free passes, and Priscilla Iniguez stepping in, was struck out looking as she pulls it foul. 0-1.
Jada Cecil has really been pounding that inside pitch. We've seen a ton of foul balls go to the left side of the screen. She's really been working her screwball, her rise ball, tunneling them together, and then also offsetting that with her changeup this game. Really great combination of pitches there.
You've mentioned one of the distinguishing characteristics of Cecil. Her ball has a lot of spin, a lot of movement to it. She's just done a really good job refining it over the course of the season.
It's important to also know when you want to put more spin on the ball or when you want to decrease the speed in the ball. There's a lot of elements that go into it, throwing it to different batters in different counts. So I think she's also been able to pair a lot of that knowledge that she knows about herself, what works on certain hitters that like to pull the ball more, hitters that are a little bit longer, being able to use pressure points on your fingers to spin the ball more or take a little bit of speed off of it as well, maybe taking a finger off to slow the pitch down. So that's also an important factor to look into when you're pitching.
Well, finally a fan got fingertips on it. Twos across the board. 2 on, 2 out, 2 balls, 2 strikes to Iniguez, and that sails off the plate, ball 3. Long Beach State coming off that dramatic 8th inning victory in Game 3 over UC Riverside. Robbins hit the walk-off single in the bottom of the 8th. Payoff, it's fisted, and Woolery holds on. Showing off the wheels in Game 1 against UC Santa Barbara. Entered with 1 out in the 5th inning. Went an inning and 2/3, no hits, no runs, 1 strikeout in just 18 pitches of work. As Liesl Osteen getting a chance here in the batter's box. Again, came in to replace Jessica Clemens. Just her 8th at-bat of the season. Pretty good numbers, though, in her limited capacity. 2 runs driven in. Her brother Eric played football at UCLA, was a grad transfer at Montana. Her sister Katya was a collegiate All-American wrestler, in fact, at Simon Fraser University in the British Columbia area. And she is struck out for out number 1. It's a good start for Lindsey Cowens, taking down her first victim here to begin the 4th. And you and I have talked about this, Charlize, the importance of playing at home, hosting a regional, especially the way that this UCLA team has been playing at Easton Stadium, 16-0. If they can find a way to secure one of those top 8 seeds, it'll be absolutely imperative.
Yeah, there's an obvious comfort when they play here at Easton. The undefeated score is telling you that, and it's important to have the Bruin fans be able to support them as well. I think you really do feel the atmosphere when you're playing in a certain place, especially when you go to schools that have a lot of backing. So you go to big SEC schools, if you go to them and they're hosting, you really do feel their fans get engaged. And here at Easton Stadium, they get a lot of engagement from a lot of fans, athletes coming to watch and see some postseason softball. So it's important that they're able to stay in the standings pretty high so that they can have that opportunity to host both regionals and super regionals.
Especially the way that the Big Ten Conference is perceived. Obviously, so much of the attention goes to the SEC. That's why the integration of UCLA, Oregon, Washington was a huge infusion into this conference, as Pola is now 3 for 3. Perfect outing for her. But literally the conference is riding the coattails of 2 of the 3 transplants in Oregon and UCLA.
Seems like Savvy's played the same ball in the same spot every single at bat.
Woolery slices one into the wall and right. A long single as Savvy is held up at third. Connected perfectly with that. She almost hit it so hard that it didn't leave her or Pola much time to advance any further.
She went to the 2-strike approach at the first pitch, and I think she just wanted to see the ball a little deeper than she had her first few at-bats. Or maybe, depending on the pitcher, if she knew that she has a changeup, just be able to see everything a little deeper. So really great strategy because she did exactly what she wanted. She saw a ball deep and hit it to the right side.
She has the longest active hit streak amongst the Bruins as Seneca Curro's going to pinch run for her. Curro, of course, the day 1 starter at second base. That was when Savannah Pola had shifted into right field. Always stays ready. Longest tenured Bruin on this roster as the first pitch sails high to Megan Grant. Grant's been so professional throughout this entire process. Again, was on a heater, cooled off the last couple of games. She had to think back to when she was in the batting cage at 14 years old, shifting from baseball to softball. Wasn't getting the results that she wanted, kicked her bat, threw her helmet down. Ultimately resulted in a shattered window. That's when she realized, you know, softball demands a little bit something different. Can't behave that way. Prompted a change in her behavior, and that was actually the time when she made the switch from baseball to softball. Grew up as a baseball player. Her brothers played baseball. That's what she has grown up knowing. Ripped up the middle. That scores Pola, and Megan Grant extends the Bruins' lead to 5 here in the 4th. Still maintains the swagger, though, of a baseball player at all times.
You always see the phones come out when Megan Grant is stepping up to the plate because it's something amazing that she's been able to put together this season, and being able to see her in this game, keep it super simple, not go for the long ball, just really try to, like we said, hone in on her swing and create repetitive movements with pitches coming at her and get her timing down again is really important for her to just be able to continue to excel this year.
Mentally, the approach has shifted. Focusing on the process, not the outcome. That's a consistent sentiment echoed throughout the lineup as Bragg with a high bouncer. Cowens on the transfer to first is able to gun down Bragg. Runners advance into scoring position for UCLA as there are 2 away now for Riley Slimp.
a really difficult ball. It was like almost like a slap hit. Just found a spot that I thought was maybe going to cause for an infield single right there.
And it stayed in suspension for so long.
The field isn't that hard either, so the fact that it got kind of that chop that it did, found a really good spot on the dirt.
Slimp was great in game 1 against Oregon, was 2 for 3. Struggled the final 2 games, was hitless going 0 for 6. That's rolled way off the plate in the dirt to Slimp. I think that came out of her hand wrong.
Those balls are the hardest to block, though, because they don't bounce as if you're throwing it to the plate. If it does hit a different part of your body, it has a different bounce. So you almost have to be like a goalie back there to be able to stop it. You don't know where it's going to really be spinning.
And a change, by the way, Rebecca Durazo is playing behind the dish for Long Beach State. So as we highlighted at the top of the broadcast, Brooklyn Lee and Durazo had split time. Durazo was off to a blistering start, led the team in so many categories before spraining her ankle against CSUN as Cowens walks Slimp and loads up the bases for Ramirez. Or pardon, this could be Sofia Mujica, and it will be instead. So Mujica's coming in to pinch hit for Ramirez here in the 4th.
I just want to highlight really quickly, Rebecca Durazo uses a first base glove to catch. So that's a really big trend in the Japan League. They use first placements because they have a bigger pocket than a catching glove does. And you really have to focus on where you catch it because there's not as much padding in a first base glove, so it can hurt you, but it definitely does leave for a bigger pocket to be able to frame. Definitely based on preference, but you don't see that a lot in collegiate softball for catchers to use a first base glove.
Did you ever use a first base glove?
With the pitchers that we had here that threw absolute gas like Megan Framo, I would not even dare because I needed all the padding I could get, and I grew up using a catcher's mitt. So you know who does use a first baseman glove when she catches is Coach Kelly Inouye Perez.
Really?
In bullpens, she uses first base gloves, and I asked her, I was like, how are you able to catch with that? She's like, I don't really know. I think she just grabs the first glove she sees, really.
I was going to say, she's just trying to show you guys up, I think.
Honestly, probably that's what it is.
1-2, smacked up the middle, takes a hop away from Perez. That scores Curro. That scores Grant. 2 RBI single for Mujica as the Bruins are inching closer to Mercy Rule territory. They've got runners at the corners with 2 away in the 4th. So you talked about needing to stay ready as a pinch hitter. Well, Mujica said, I can channel some of that Charlize Palacios insight. 19th hit of the season as she's given UCLA a 7-0 lead. Captures the outer part of the corner to Maggie Daniel for a strike.
I love the approach that the Bruins brought out of this weekend and probably from yesterday's practices, that they're having a lot more base hits, hard hit balls, and not really focusing on long, big swings for the long ball. It's important to have that approach when you're playing really great teams, highly ranked teams, because you want to practice that, because not all the time are you going to be able to face a pitcher that's dealing and be able to get that long ball that you always want. So being able to string along base hits and score runners in that form is really important for them to do, and they're doing it right now.
And now they are in mercy rule territory.
Cowens has kind of stayed to the right-handed batter's box area and a little bit lower, and has used changeups and has been putting stuff in the dirt. So to be able to see Durazo kind of let that ball get past her, unlikely, but she has seen a lot of pitches that are expanding through the zone. They're kind of a little more wild, so that's expected at times when they expand a little too far.
And again, it's just her second game back in the starting lineup. Making appearances behind the dish as a usual starter. That was part of a spate of injuries sustained by this Long Beach State team against CSUN. Really proud tradition in Long Beach. They have a long history of success. A little bit of a down year for a program that has always been at the top of the Big West. And all of a sudden, Charlize, we began this inning with a 4-0 lead for UCLA and another 2-out rally, which is something we saw against Oregon as well. In the top of that 6th inning, it was just a 2-0 game, and they scored 6 runs, all with 2 outs. So the prospect of an inning potentially ending is not as daunting to them, as we'll see another new arm. This will be the 4th entering the circle for Long Beach State. And it's going to be the freshman Maddie Martin out of Yorba Linda, California. Burst onto the scene against Oklahoma in her collegiate debut. Was just the 2nd arm used as a reliever. Held the Sooners scoreless through the first 5 innings in that contest. Helped the Beach nearly pull off the upset. They lost in 11 innings at home in what was the largest capacity crowd seen by the Beach in program history, in fact. But since that time, she's been tremendous. 4.34 ERA, 13th appearance. Last appearance in relief came in the 2nd game of the series against UC Riverside. Entered with 1 out in the 6th inning. 3rd arm used in that contest. She's the 4th arm used today. So they were not joking when they said that they've got 6 different arms that they can turn to. And obviously you're trying to keep this at least an 8-run game to give your offense one chance to score a run and extend the contest. You can see the breakdown. Trying to catch Cal State Fullerton might be out of play for Long Beach State. However, Hawaii and CSUN more than enough runway to make up that difference. Of course, UCLA was scheduled to face Cal State Fullerton in their season opener. Got moved because of a rain delay to next Wednesday, in fact. We saw them already take down CSUN, take down UC San Diego. 3rd Big West opponent for UCLA. As you can see, Kim Souter searching for answers. So chance at some softball redemption. First ever conference tournament being hosted at Anderson Family Field, Fullerton, California. That'll be a fun tournament. As Jayla Castro is coming in. That ball bounced away from Durazo, but Mujica opted to stay firm. This is the 2nd Yes, the 2nd different batter used at the top of the lineup. We saw Liesl Osteen actually lead off the inning as they've batted a complete round. She was struck out, and now Jayla Castro in that same exact spot is coming in to pinch hit for her.
Going back to the Big West Championship, especially for Long Beach, you want to put a good outing there because in those conference championships, you get an automatic berth if you win the championship to the tournament. So winning that, you're able to get that berth, and it automatically admits you into the postseason. So that could be a ticket for a team. That's what they like to call those Cinderella teams that get in and are able to get through the postseason because they got that berth. And it's at times some of the teams that get into the postseason, there's not a lot of opportunities, but that is like your last opportunity to really put everything you have in that tournament. And all it takes in softball is one game, a few games strung along, a little bit of momentum, and it could be a really different season than what you pound it out to be.
So she walks in a run, an insurance run really, as Mujica tacks on the 9th for UCLA. That's the 5th in this inning. The carousel moves on up to Savannah Pola. So surprisingly, Coach Noy Perez hasn't opted to bring in a pinch hitter for Pola. 3 for 3. Adding to her batting average on the season. 6th time this year that she's collected 3 hits. Again, scored the first run of this inning for Pola. And again, coming off a career low last year, has bounced back to have a career best senior season. Was able to strip away a lot of the external pressure. Just take a deep breath, and she said to herself, you know what, this is my senior year. I want to maximize this season. I want to enjoy it to the fullest. And not surprisingly, it's resulted in her best campaign. Takes all the way, doesn't get the call. 2-2.
At times that's the feeling that you get in your final lap as well. You think about all the hardship that you've gone through, all the mornings of waking up for early morning weights, all the practices that you've put in, all the strain you've put on your body to be ready for these moments. You kind of look at it in almost rose-colored lenses, and you're very grateful for what you've gone through, and you almost take the pressure off of yourself because you really want to enjoy it. And being able to shift into that mindset and being in a thought process of a lot of gratitude can really show in your play.
Results. What were your biggest takeaways against Oregon? And she said, you know, and this was something you mentioned, Charlize. She said, you know, a lot of times poor hitting or struggles in the circle is contagious. And the problem that they found themselves in was the offense was looking at the starting pitchers to kind of set the tone for how they would play, when, as you've talked about, you can't always be reliant on one specific position to dictate your mindset, but you have to be the enactor of change.
Yeah, you either need a strong voice that's able to change the current of the energy that's coming, or someone that recognizes where the energy is coming. It can be a player, it can be a side of the offense or defense, it could be honestly anything, but being able to identify it and almost build off of it and almost make a joke out of it, like, hey, let's tap into this player, or let's tap into this, and being able to use that as something that the team can cling on to, have fun with, use in their cheers. That at times can win you ball games more than just a lone hitter, or it just creates that momentum and that energy again that softball really uses when teams are rolling really well.
7th punch out for Cecil as they're 1 away in the top of the 5th. Is 1 away, pardon. Alyssa Aguilar was struck out in the 3rd. Again, when it comes to the bottom of the lineup, Cecil's retired 4 in a row. Has been in complete control this entire evening. Changeup settles in there for a strike. And a pinch hitter for Long Beach State, as that is fisted foul. Obviously, we saw Rebecca Durazo come in defensively, first at bat for her offensively here in the 5th. Staring at a 1-2. Again, if you are Long Beach State, they need to plate at least 2 runs to extend the game. Stays high. Just fouled it off, stays alive, and will do it again. Looper, and it's caught by Woolery for out number 2. Last chance for the pinch hitter. That's going to be Emily Dowden, number 14, the sophomore out of Bakersfield, California, coming in to pinch hit for Selena Perez. Did she go around it? She did. Smokey Eds confirms it, 0-1. One of the final 2 non-conference games remaining for UCLA this season. One strike away. Gets the call. It's a Cecil.